And Gabby Williams were slow to get up after a collision underneath the basket. Here's what happened.
Oh, that is a major collision for the two of them. They both knock heads. It took them both some time to get to their feet.
Yo, Lexie Hull took a head-to-head hit that looked bad. Everyone thought she was done for the night. But listen, just minutes later, she's back on the court, not on her forehead, diving for rebounds like nothing happened. That single act of pure toughness, man. It told you everything about this Fever squad. They walked into Nike's huge Caitlin Clark celebration, without Caitlin, without half their guards, and walked out with a dominant sweep over the Seattle Storm. So how did Hull, Aaliyah Boston, Odyssey Sims, and Kelsey Mitchell completely flip the Fever story in one night? And what did Boston say that has that whole locker room hyped? If you're with the Fever, drop a comment. I've got the Fever. Let's go.
Woo! First home game. Got a dub. Let's get it.
Big dub. Let's go.
Fever dub. Bow. Woo! Dubs. It's giving sweet.
Bruh, Indiana's struggles started way before tip-off. Caitlin Clark was still out, that groin injury sidelining her since mid-July. And it wasn't just her. Sophie Cunningham, Ari McDonald, Sydney Colson, all done for the season with injuries. Plus, Chloe Bibby was managing her own discomfort that meant the Fever were missing most of their guard rotation, forcing the bench to play huge minutes and the starters to carry an insane load on a super important night.
AB's been the one that's been most affected by all of our injuries. You know, all of the point guards that know how to get her the ball and how they get it to her. And it's not just getting her the ball, it's where you get it to her. You know, getting it to her on time, on target, you know, thinking one pass ahead, you know, all that matters. And I thought today, her aggressiveness with the ball in her hands to the rim, getting into defenders, playing low to high instead of high to low. When she plays like that, you know, there's nobody that can stop her. And, you know, she set the tone for us, really on both ends. You know, she had the NECA assignment as well and set the tone for us on both ends. And, you know, she was terrific.
And the timing couldn't have been worse, honestly. Indiana had just dropped 4 of their last 5, sliding right to the edge of the playoff picture. They came into this game 19-18, holding on to that 8th and final spot while Seattle was right there at 6th. Look, every single possession carried weight. It wasn't just about stopping another losing streak. It was about clawing their way up in a standings race that was separated by one single win. The urgency for everyone, players and fans, was impossible to ignore.
Aaliyah, this is a string of games, beginning of a string of games against the teams you're competing for a playoff spot against. Did this game feel more important in that regard? And I guess how big was it to get a win in this one?
Yeah, I mean, going into this game, we talked about that this was going to be a big game for us, considering the standings where Seattle was. But, you know, going into the West Coast trip, I mean, right now we're just going to be focused on LA. That's kind of been our motto this entire season, is just focus on the game ahead of you, be where your feet are. And so starting tomorrow, we're going to be looking at LA. But, I mean, this next string of games definitely important for us, but we got to take it one game at a time.
What's wild is the atmosphere inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse told a totally different story before the ball even got tossed. Caitlin Clark's new Nike logo reveal, it turned the whole arena into an off-court celebration. Banners everywhere, promo shirts flooding the stands, fans lining up for selfies. This night was all about Clark's superstardom, her impact as a player, as a cultural icon. But the irony hit hard, you know? Clark herself was right there on the sidelines, watching from courtside, while her teammates had to fight to keep their playoff push alive.
Feels good. Got the pants, got the charms, necklace, zipper, everything.
So, on the floor, the adjustments were massive. No Clark meant no outside shooting to stretch defenses, no veteran ball handlers to steady the offense. Indiana had to lean into inside scoring and rebounding just to have a prayer, and Seattle got a veteran core still fighting for their own playoff spot. They looked like the perfect team to expose Indiana's short rotation. Honestly, not many in the building expected anything more than a close fight at best.
It's special. I mean, you know, there's very few people who get the opportunity to say that they have a logo and to make the impact that she makes, not just, I think, in the sport, but globally, just by being who she is. She's a connector. She brings people together. And, I think for us to be a part of that, and whether it's, as simple as being able to celebrate all of these things with her, or, as much as walking out into the arena and seeing the whiteout on the chairs out there, it's really cool. And it's really special and shoot, I'm talking about it right now, and just feeling the intense gratitude for me personally, being in women's basketball, to be able to be a part of this moment, and to celebrate with her.
Still, the Fever players carried themselves with a totally different energy. Instead of letting the injuries and all that celebration define the night, they embraced the moment like a true test of toughness. Every defensive rotation looked sharper, every box out drew just a little more contact, and the crowd, hyped by Clark's presence but just desperate for someone else to step up, started to rally behind that effort on the floor. It was in that fragile, high-pressure environment that the defining moment of the night happened. One collision that put all of Indiana's resilience into focus.
And Gabby Williams were slow to get up after a collision underneath the basket. Here's what happened.
Well, that is a major collision for the two of them. They both knock heads. It took them both some time to get to their feet.
It went down in the first quarter. Lexie Hull and Gabby Williams both diving for a loose ball under the basket. Their heads collided hard. You could hear that crash echo through the arena. Both players hit the deck. Williams stayed on the bench, but Hull walked straight to the locker room, clutching her forehead. The cameras caught the swelling immediately, this visible bump that made everyone wince, both at home and in the building. The crowd just went quiet, losing Hull, on top of 5 other injured teammates. It felt like the absolute breaking point.
Happened on that play?
Well, I didn't know exactly what happened when it happened. It was kind of just like a clash. But looking at the video, it just, Gabby and I ran into each other. Unfortunate, unlucky. I think we both have knots on our heads, so we both kept playing, so it's all right.
Were you pretty dazed when you...
Yeah, I think it's more of like what just happened, big like collision. I just need some time. Felt my face, felt a growing knot, so that doesn't feel good.
Fans just assumed that was it for her night. I mean, no way someone takes a shot like that and comes back in the same game, right? Especially when you see that knot growing on their head. But here's the thing, Lexie Hull isn't a flashy scorer, but on this depleted Indiana roster, her effort is absolutely non-negotiable. She guards the best, hustles for every 50-50 ball, and brings that energy that just connects the whole team. Without her, Indiana would have been even more exposed on the perimeter. Everyone in that building knew it. The collective thought was simple. If she's out, how do they even begin to survive?
Storm basketball. The Universitatis Kelsey Mitchell, Lexie Hull, sinking to the floor.
Minutes just ticked away. Then almost out of nowhere, Hull reappeared and checked back in. The swelling was obvious. Sure, but she stepped on the floor with the same intensity as before, and that first possession she played, man, it told you everything. She dove on the floor, going after a loose ball like nothing had even happened. The crowd erupted, standing to cheer her return. What looked like an ending just turned into the spark of the entire night. Hull herself later admitted she felt disoriented right after the hit, but she still came back, played heavy minutes. She even joked that everyone kept telling her she looked beautiful despite that giant lump.
I knew yeah. Everyone's like, you look beautiful. I'm like, I know I look insane, but it honestly looks better now than it did when it first happened. So hopefully this goes down quick.
Did you glance up at the video board to see it? Did you get a look at it?
No, I could see it looking out. I could see it just from my own eyes. So I didn't need to look anywhere. I knew it was going to be big.
No way. So it's in your peripheral vision?
Yes. It was literally sticking out. I mean, it's still big right here, but it was bigger and I could see it. So they brought it down a little. Your
teammates, your coach, the GM, everybody's just kind of talking about your toughness, I guess. So there's not really a good way to ask that question, but if you could just talk to me about that toughness and where that comes from.
I mean, if I can play, if I feel like I can play, whether or not I look good or not isn't the problem. So, I think for me, it's just the team is the most important thing, getting wins the most important thing, and if I can contribute in any way I can, that's what I'm going to do. So if it's playing a little injured, playing a little hurt, that is what it is.
Awesome. That decision to just keep battling, it spread through the team like wildfire. The bench noticed, the starters noticed, and Aaliyah Boston made it super clear later. She called Hull the definition of tough. That wasn't just praise either. It put a name on the exact identity the Fever showed that night.
Lexie Hull gets hit in the head there at the beginning of the game, comes back in. If you could just speak to her toughness and what it meant seeing her fight through what sure was not very pleasant.
I feel like Lexie's the definition of tough.
Yes.
I think when you just think of her as a player, the way that she hustles, she likes to get loose balls, extra offensive possessions. That's what she does. I mean, she got hit, she came back and just continued to contribute again, was a pest on defense, just making her presence felt, offensive rebounds, and that's just who Lexie is. So.
Their coach saw it the exact same way. Stephanie White called that collision disgusting, but she described Hull as unshakable. White said Lexie never shows if she's hurt. She just gets back up and competes on every single possession, and that's exactly what she did.
Yeah, I mean, that was disgusting. I don't know if y'all saw it, but I mean, it's who she is. You know, she's just a tough young woman who battles every possession, and you know, you can never tell if Lexie does, if she's hurt, if she's injured, if she goes down, if she gets back up. She just always has the same expression, and she just plays her butt off. And you know, I'm thankful that it wasn't worse. And thankful that she was able to come back. But she really kind of epitomizes the toughness and the grit of this team.
The numbers absolutely backed it up. Hull finished with 9 rebounds and a team best plus-minus of +31. It was her grit and defense that totally shut down the Storm's flow, even sliding into lineups that looked completely patched together. Her return just flipped the energy in the building. It told everyone this wasn't going to be a game about surviving. This was going to be a game about making a statement, and that toughness set the stage for Boston, Sims, and Mitchell to take over.
Bouncing. Boston can't finish inside, but able to tap it back out. Hull tracks it down and steps into a 3 and connects. I know.
With the guard rotation so thin, everything for Indiana just shifted inside. And Aaliyah Boston, she made sure Seattle felt it on every single possession. She dropped 27 points, grabbed 9 rebounds, and made life absolutely miserable for anyone who tried to stand in her way. You could see her setting up deep position, creating space with her body, and finishing with the kind of power that forced the Storm to double her and still come up short. When a star embraces that role of carrying an offense, man, there's just a different energy, and Boston owned the paint like it belonged to her.
And good hands there by Aaliyah. Boston just wrestles it away from Agumake, and here is Mitchell.
Usually you'd have a 2-for-1 right here if you had Caitlin Clark on the floor, but without Caitlin Clark, you really need to get a good look.
They do get a good look, and it's Boston to Mitchell. Here is Boston going at the rookie. Boston using her strength to get to the rim.
That 1-4 dribble puts the shot blocker inside the cylinder of the rim.
Seattle had no solution. Seriously. By halftime, you could just feel how overwhelmed their front court was. Indiana out-rebounded them 42-21, a margin you almost never see at this level. Every missed shot seemed to land right in Boston's hands, and with those second chance points stacking up, the Storm just couldn't find any rhythm. Their guards tried to penetrate, but kept running into traffic, and when nothing opened up around the arc, that frustration really started to show. It felt like a one-sided battle inside, with Boston controlling the flow on both ends.
It's just a really good job. That's what I'm talking about. An extra dribble to get Malanga inside the cylinder of the rim.
It's been a strong start to the third quarter here for Indiana. An 11-point lead has grown to 16, and Boston adding to it, and 1 and a foul.
Screen and roll, and a good steal. I say this.
But she wasn't doing it alone, not at all. Odyssey Sims just stepped up and played like a veteran who's been on this stage for years. She finished with 22 points, attacking off the dribble, pushing the ball in transition, and then she hit that shot, the one that turned the arena into absolute chaos. A deep 3 from the logo that just dropped perfectly through. That single moment was more than 3 points. That was Sims saying loud and clear that this depleted Fever team was not going to back down. For someone signed late in the year, she looked not only comfortable but fearless, and her pace fueled everyone else on the floor.
Aaliyah Boston and Izzy Magbagor in the center jump circle. We are underway from Indianapolis. Odyssey Sims tracks down the jump ball and lays it in. Here is Sims, one of those newcomers, slicing through the defense and gets to the rim.
I love the vertical game of the Fever right now.
In this building, 2007, finished third all-time points scored. IHSA basketball history on the girls' side as Odyssey Sims knocks down a three.
Then you had Kelsey Mitchell bringing her usual steady scoring, adding 21 points that stretched Seattle's defense. She made sure they couldn't just key in on Boston. Even without Clark spacing the floor, Mitchell's outside game kept that balance alive. Whenever the Storm closed the gap or showed signs of making a run, Mitchell just answered right back. That was the type of consistency that told you Indiana still had serious firepower on the perimeter. Together, that trio, Boston, Sims, and Mitchell, they gave the Fever an identity that looked nothing like desperation. It looked dominant.
As Agumake gets it to go. Mitchell, quick trigger, and hits.
Unguardable. No one can guard. Sykes doing a good job of stuffing that backdoor cut, but it just sets up the screen and roll. It's all Kelsey Mitchell. The subtle things, the amount of attention.
What really stood out, though, was how this reshaped approach worked in every aspect. The Fever turned stops into breakouts, forcing Seattle into just 3 fast break points all night. They dictated the pace, controlled the interior scoring, and played so aggressively that the Storm spent more time reacting than creating. Look, that's not just hanging on until Clark returns. That's building an alternative formula that works. By the end, that 95-75 win, it didn't feel like an upset. It felt like control. Indiana swept Seattle 3-0, climbing back into 6th in the playoff picture, and they did it while making a clear statement. On a night meant to showcase Clark's logo, this game proved something even bigger. The Fever are so much more than one star.
Okay, really great stuff. That's the most complete game we put together in a long time. We made more free throws than they attempted. Yo, hey, that is a difference maker for us, and that will be a difference maker for us. 22 assists on 36 made field goals. Total team effort.
Aaliyah Boston, 1,000 career rebounds.
Fastest player in Fever history to do so.
Yeah, and Kella just set a new franchise record for most points in a single season. Woo! Thank you. Hey, who's injured? Seriously. So, with Caitlin close to getting back on the floor, the real question is simple. If this group can impose their will while injured, what kind of ceiling do they hit once they're whole again? While the Fever were still celebrating their most complete win in weeks, the sight everybody was waiting for finally happened. Caitlin Clark was back on the practice court. For the first time since her groin injury in mid-July, she joined live workouts with her teammates. And the buzz around that, it spread just as fast as news of the victory. Clark's been gone for 16 straight games, one of the longest absences of her career, and her presence in uniform again was more than symbolic. It signaled her road back might finally be close to the finish line.
I don't have any specifics on it. I think right now it's day to day. She's progressed in her rehab and anticipate by hopefully what is today? What day is today? Tuesday. By hopefully end of the week she'll be on the floor at least in practice.
What have you been missing without her? You know, I was talking to her recently about what she brought to you guys, but what do you feel like you've lacked when she is absent from these games?
The ability to spread the floor for AB. I mean, really to have another person that can knock down a shot and we can create some space for AB to go to work on the interior.
Coach Stephanie White explained before the game that Clark had only been doing walkthroughs earlier in the week, but this time, they wanted to see her in a full practice environment. That's not just shooting drills or individual conditioning, either. It's about testing if her body holds up to contact, how she reacts to defensive pressure, and if she can sustain her rhythm over long stretches. Coming back too early from a groin injury, that risks major setbacks, and White made it clear it would take multiple practices before the team felt confident enough to activate her. The pressure is obvious when you look at the schedule. Indiana only has 6 games left in the regular season, and each day without Clark just tightens that margin for error. Being in the 6th seed is better than a week ago. But man, the table is crowded. One small losing streak can easily push the Fever right out of position and send their playoff hopes tumbling. The context makes Clark's recovery even more urgent. This isn't about buying her time for next season. These final weeks are about survival and securing momentum.
Just curious, on a big picture, was Caitlin able to go through your little walkthrough or whatever you normally do? And what do you want to see ultimately to get comfort whenever the time comes?
Yeah, she went through our walkthrough yesterday. Today it was very short, prior to game time, but she went through it yesterday, and I want to see her in practice, live in practice. I want to see her continue to work to not just build endurance, but to be able to handle contact 94 feet as it's going to be in game, and to be able to do that and sustain from an endurance standpoint. And that's going to take multiple practices to make sure that there's no regression. And as most of us know, when we get fatigued, we look different, and see how she plays through fatigue.
Man, the contrast for fans inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. It couldn't have been sharper. On the same night her Nike logo was plastered across the arena, Clark sat courtside in a simple warm-up fit. She smiled, she cheered, but that spotlight still felt incomplete without her on the floor. That picture alone told the story. The brand was thriving, but the team around her had been forced to chase wins without their most dangerous weapon. Step by step, her progress is becoming clear. First solo shooting, then light contact. Now she graduating to practices. Arguably the last barrier before suiting up again. A lot of people are looking at Friday's trip to Los Angeles as the target for her return. It's against the Sparks, a Western Conference opponent, but more importantly, it buys the Fever time to reintegrate Clark before back-to-back showdowns with teams like Phoenix and Minnesota. Her comeback isn't only about her numbers or her highlights. It's about unlocking the group that just stunned Seattle, imagining how much stronger they get with Clark stretching defenses and fueling fast breaks. If they can win like this short-handed, the version at full strength has the potential to turn this playoff race upside down. What Indiana proved against Seattle went far beyond one win. They showed toughness, they showed identity, and most of all, they showed they can carry a fight even when their biggest star is missing. That matters because Caitlin Clark is almost back. Stephanie White made it clear her next hurdle is live practice and contact work, that final step before game action. Just imagine how this group looks when she returns. Stretching defenses, adding her playmaking to what already were. Was this the night the Fever shifted from injured pieces into a playoff-ready threat? If you support the Fever, then comment, "I've got the Fever." Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.